So we have a very special couple with us here today, Tomo and Aska, and I met them a few years ago back in Bali, and I have been watching their trajectory. I mean, as far as I knew him, and I know that they have like this amazing background, but I've been watching them here in Bali, and you know when people truly inspire you, and when we watch them and you're like, wow, these people like deepen my heart with all the work that they do. So these are these two, you know, and all the work they have done in that they're gonna present to you now. Together with that, they have made 4 kids together, you know, so that's what makes even more impressive, that they were able to accomplish everything that they have accomplished and put in the world 4 amazing kids and raise them beautifully. So Tomo, yeah, so it's really a pleasure to have you guys here today, Tomo. And Tomo have lived across many different places in the world. You know, he has deep field experience in working with international and local developing NGOs across Asia and Africa. He used to work at Kopernik, Children Investment Fund Foundation, and the World Bank. And he's gonna tell you more about. I don't wanna spoil all this. He's gonna talk about it, but it's pretty impressive, their experience. And Aska, she started her career as a management consultant, and she has worked resolving around climate change and disaster relief in Asia Pacific. She has managed disaster relief efforts in 2008 Samoa earthquake, 2011 Japan earthquake, and tsunami, and served as vice president of climate change NGO in Tavalu. So Aska and Tomo, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for leading this session. And the screen is all yours. It's not the floor. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Carol and Karen, and all of you who are with us today, and everyone who may watch this later as a recorded video. So my name is Tomo, and
I'm Aska.
So it's our real pleasure to be here today, virtually for now. Hopefully in person, you guys can come to Bali one day. And yeah, as Carol mentioned, we've known her for a few years now, and we've really enjoy just learning about her and her family's adventures, and being inspired by what they do. So the feeling is definitely mutual. So in the next couple of hours, we want to share with you our journeys. And so we'll start off with our life stories, actually. So how we ended up here and what we did in the past few decades. And then we'll talk about Earth Company, our organization. And then we'll take a break after about an hour, a short break. And then after the break, we're actually going to do a tour of the place where we're at right now. So we're actually at the eco hotel that we built and run. It's called Mana Earthly Paradise. And so we're in this kind of place in a very rural setting in Ubud, Bali. And we'll give you a tour of the place later, but this is a sneak peek of what you will get in about an hour. Yeah. Anything you want to add before we start, Aska?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Great. Why don't we take 3 big, deep breaths before we start? Close our eyes and breathing in. Great. All right. Good to see you all. It's always nice to see faces on the other side of Zoom. So if you can turn on your videos, we'll love it. But if you can't, we understand. Okay, so we'll turn on the share screen. 1 second. Oh, cool. We see more people. Oops. Okay, let me turn on the full screen. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll want to cover 3 things. Our self-introduction. We want to explain to you about Earth Company, and then finish with a tour and explanation of our eco hotel called Mana Earthy Paradise. Okay, so me. Yeah, I'll spend probably about 5-10 minutes talking about my life. So my parents and all my grandparents and great-grandparents, as far as I know, are Japanese. And a lot of people ask me, you don't look very Japanese. You must have some mixed blood in you. But as far as I know, I'm 100% Japanese. My mom was actually born in Taiwan in 1945. So Japan was colonizing Taiwan until August 1945, and she was born just a few months before the end of the war. And then my dad is from a city called Nagoya in central Japan. And then many decades later, they met in New York, actually, in the 1970s or 60s, when they were both working for a Japanese bank. And then they had my brother and me. So yeah, that's kind of the background to who I am and why I was born. And a little bit of side notes. The last name Hamakawa actually literally means beach and river. Hama means beach and like the sandy beach, and then kawa means river, like the flowing river. And there's actually a town called Hamakawa in Okinawa. So a lot of people from Okinawa actually guess whether I'm from Okinawa, but my roots, as far as I know, go back to this place in central Japan called Lake Biwa. And supposedly there was an area where there was kind of a beach area. So it was the beach of the lake. And then I guess there was a river that running into that beach, and that's where my ancestors are from, as far as I know. So I'm 41 years old, and I've lived in many different places. I've worked in different places, and that actually story of moving around actually started from when I was really small. And so I was born in Japan in 1980, and I was there until 3 years old. And then because my dad used to work for the Bank of Tokyo, which has kind of many branches all over the world, we moved to the UK. And one kind of funny episode from that moving from Tokyo to London is it's probably hard for you guys to imagine, but back in the 1980s, there were no direct flights from Tokyo to London. They actually stopped in Moscow to refuel. And so we were boarding this flight, and then we were at the airport in Tokyo. And then, of course, as a 3-year-old, I had no idea what was going on. You know, we were going to this foreign land. And then we were eating at this restaurant at the airport, and I couldn't finish the cake that I was eating. And then what I told my parents and my aunt was that I just asked him, "Can you keep the cake until I return?" You know, that's how clueless I was about moving to foreign lands. I thought I would be coming back in a matter of a few days, but we ended up going for 5 years. So yeah, so I think that just shows how, it's a small episode that shows how kind of I bounced around from place to place when I was young. And the lines actually show kind of my energy level or happiness level. But every time we moved, it was a really, really difficult experience for me because, forming new friends, learning new languages, just adjusting to a new environment, right? So that happened when we moved to the UK, moving back to Japan, and then when we moved to the US when I was 12. And so that was, I don't have a lot of positive, fun memories actually from my childhood. It was really tough. And I think I was the kind of kid that took these things kind of seriously and not wasn't totally, happy and joyous time. So one incident, one experience that really changed my life was my experience in the Fiji Islands at the age of 18 and 19. So after high school, so I went to a boarding school in the US, and I had never been to a developing country before, and I was really intrigued by the beautiful nature and the culture in Fiji. So I first went on a 3-week community service trip to the Fiji Islands, and it was a really eye-opening experience. All my life, I'd grown up in big cities in kind of so-called advanced countries, and there in this village, very remote, no electricity, no running water, no nothing, very basic, humble life. The people there were extremely warm and friendly and generous and also happy. And I had never seen people like that in my life. And that's when I started thinking about this relationship between like economic development and kind of emotional happiness or spiritual development. And I felt like, in very simplistic terms, like the more you develop as a country, as a city, as a household, more people become kind of unhappy, right? And you see the highest suicide rates, highest depression rates in the biggest cities in the world. And there, in this really remote village in Fiji, there was nothing in terms of material wealth, but they were very humane. They were really generous. They were, they really cared about your well-being, and they themselves seemed very content with their life, And of course, this is a very simplistic view of the world. But then that's when I started thinking about what is quality of life, what is development in general. And but yeah, so that was an initial experience into this world of international development or social entrepreneurship, that kind of thing. But in college, of course, one has to get a job, and so a lot of back then, a lot of people were going into investment banking, consulting, all these things. And so I tried out investment banking in Tokyo at a place called Lehman Brothers that doesn't exist anymore because they went bankrupt about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But I hated that. And I knew I didn't want it to be in this, sort of the center of capitalism. And I really wanted to do something helpful and useful and fun. and yeah, long story short, so I ended up working in China and Tibet in my early 20s, and that's when I really realized this is what I want to do. I was working with a group of Tibetan people. They were young, they were passionate, and they were fun. And and I thought, well, this is really what I want to do. I want to be part of a team close to the ground as much as possible and making a difference in people's lives. Yeah. then I went back to grad school. I worked for a private foundation that gives out grants to other NGOs. And then one day when I was living in London, I got an email from my mom. This was May 4th, 2011, a couple months after the tsunami and earthquake in Japan. And I was living in London by myself, and I got an email from my mom saying, your brother has passed away. And he was 5 years older than me, and this was totally out of the blue. No one was expecting him to pass away, even himself, because we, as a family member, as family members, we had to clean up his residence, and there was no sign that he was expecting to pass away. But he had a medical condition, and it was very acute, and he passed away. So that's kind of the orange star there, and it was really difficult for me and my family. I moved back to Japan, and all that, and yeah, really one of those experiences that make you, really count your blessings every day, and to be, can't take anything for granted in life, even the closest people in your lives. And then in the last few years have been pretty intense, to be honest. We experienced death as a family, but then I got married. We got married. So that's the first blue one. Then we had our daughter, Yula, and then we started Earth Company. That's the yellow star. And then we moved to Bali. We had our second child, had our third child, and we started our hotel, which is the yellow, second yellow dot here. And then we also had our fourth baby. So yeah, it's been a pretty intense, very interesting several years, and really excited about what the kind of the next few years for us as well. This is kind of our life in Bali. Our kids are quite wild, and 3 girls and 1 boy. The top right photo is our family photo we took last year when we went back to Japan. So yeah, to try to keep up our Japanese tradition whenever we can. Okay, just want to finish on one kind of note. One thing, just going back to the idea of kind of economic development and kind of spiritual development or happiness in general. One, we've learned in the last few years about this thing called be do have, and we've found it to be a very useful way of thinking about life, and I wanted to share that kind of upfront, so that you can kind of mull over it. But basically, what we've been taught, I think everyone in this Zoom call, what we've been taught is that we have to work. We have to do a lot of things. Like we study, you get good grades, you get a good job. You have to do a lot of things, and that the result of that will be some haves. So you have money, you get a car, you have family, you have possession of these things, and those possessions will bring you happiness, will bring you the be that you want in life. And I think a lot of people have lived life that way, and some people are starting to question that fundamental logic. And maybe the better way to live is to put that be up front and to understand what makes you happy. Understand where are you the happiest? With whom do you want to be the most alive or to be happy? And then if you can really understand that, if you are aware of that, then the do will be pretty natural. You will understand where you want to be, with whom you want to be, and the do is something that you have to do, but that will not be forced. It'll be something of an extension from the be. And of course, by working, by studying, you will get your haves, You will earn money, you will earn these things, but there's nothing beyond that half. There's nothing waiting, there's no happiness waiting for you beyond that. And yeah, as I said, this is a really simple yet kind of life-changing way of thinking about our lives. Okay, with that, I want to pass it on to Aska, who has perhaps a more dramatic story than mine.
Okay. Sorry.
Thanks, Tomo. That was really nice.
You can probably hear the chickens outside.
Okay, so yeah, in the next 5 or 10 minutes, I'm gonna talk about my life as an introduction to how we do and why we do what we do now. So I was born and raised in Japan, basically, until I was about 15. Unlike Tomo, I didn't move around too much as a child, but I was born to a Japanese parents. But my father was educated in American education all his life because he was in this place called Okinawa, which was American territory at that time. And so he was a Japanese person, 100% Japanese, but grew up in a very American environment in Japan and speaking English as his first language, and didn't know too much Japanese actually. But he ended up marrying this very traditional person from the countryside of Japan, and so I'm the child of them. For me, like growing up in Japan was not easy because it was kind of different, and I was bullied in school. Like the conventional Japanese education is very narrow-minded, and they don't, it's not like they respect differences and personalities and like uniqueness and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to get out of Japan pretty much the entire childhood that I spent in Japan. And also my family was going through financial struggle. We found out that our grandfather had made a huge debt from a bank, and which was $5 million US. And this was during the economic bubble, right? And so my grandfather thought that he would be able to invest a lot of money into different things and he would make a lot of money. But then the bubble bursted, as we all know, and he ended up with this massive debt. And so a lot of our family members, including my uncles, they went bankrupt. And so we had to take over this debt. And so, at one point, like we were being chased by the Yakuzas, because our grandfather was borrowing money from the Yakuzas as well. And so it was kind of a rough childhood. But the family, my family, like we stayed close and, yeah, I grew up feeling loved and, supported and all that. But then my family was going through a lot of problems. But on the other side, my grandparents on my mom's side did pretty well in business. And with that, we were able to pay off all that debt all of a sudden. And that's how I was able to go to the university. But, growing up, like I got to learn, what money could do to things, to people, to families, like my family on the father's side, they actually, my parents got a divorce, it had a lot to do with the financial crisis that we had as a family. Yeah, my family on the father's side, they struggled a lot, and the family sort of kind of fell apart because of that, And then on the other side, like my family on my mother's side, they did well in finance, and we were able to, we got the benefit of that. But then they had a lot of family fallout as well, like because a lot of the children on that side and the cousins and a lot of relatives, they kind of fought over who gets that money, And so like I grew up seeing a lot of things that like money can do, all the benefits that money can give you, and also the negative side of it, you know? And so I kind of grew up wondering, you know, like, what is money? Do we really want this? You know, does money really make you happy? You know? But anyways, there were a few incidents that happened in my life that kind of led me to pursue the career that we have now. And so I'm going to focus on that. The first one was my mother was a musician, so I was playing piano since I was 2, and I was pretty good at it. So I was teaching kids in the neighborhood when I was like 15. And so I had a little bit of income, which was like $30 per month. But I didn't, you know, there was no cell phones at the time, no smartphones, no internet, you know, and so there's not much I could spend the money on. And so my mom suggested to donate that money to the UNICEF. And so I started doing that, and they sent me newsletters, not email newsletters, but actual paper newsletters. And so every time I was getting it, I was reading it, you know, it was really shocking, you know, to know what was happening around the world. And one time they sent me this map. I still have it in the back of the closet, but I put that in when I was 15. It talked about the number of countries where kids can grow, with a certain number of kids can grow over 5 years of age. And it was really shocking to me that, you know, there's that many countries, you know, where kids is really difficult to grow after, you know, even after 5 years. And the 5 years it's 5 years, you know, but they can't grow over 5 years, you know. And to me at the time, you know, I felt like I saw all that injustice that happens in the world, inequalities, and, you know, I learned that life is not fair, you know, and there was ups and downs in my life, but I felt like I still have food to eat. I could still go to school, you know, and there are so many kids in the world that couldn't have just that, you know. And so that was my first experience that really led me to decide to go into this international development and nonprofit sector. And then the second experience was when I was traveling in the South Pacific Islands, places like Tonga, Samoa, and Fiji. I was fascinated by those islands because, you know, it's actually very similar to what Tomo was experiencing in Fiji. You know, my grandparents lived in Hawaii, so, you know, I got to see a lot of the Pacific cultures, and I was always wondering, you know, like, why are they so happy? You know, so that kind of led me to want to backpack through those islands. And this is Fiji. This is Samoa. Like, Samoa is a place that I really fell in love with. You know, they had this like subsistence living. You know, if you want to eat, you gotta grow things, you know, grow taro, you know, grow, you know, breadfruits, you know, you gotta, you know, harvest your own vegetables to eat. You know, if you want to make coconut milk, you gotta make it, you know, from scratch. Everything you have to make from scratch, basically. You know, cow, you know, if you want to eat meat, you gotta grow animals, you know, you gotta kill them, you know. But like, we're, I'm sure same for you guys too, but like where we come from, you know, if you want to eat meat, then we go to the supermarket and we get the packaged meat, you know, and we don't feel guilty about it. But, you know, this is what's happening, you know. And I got to see what is life, you know, like what it means to live, what it means for us to live, you know, like we're actually living because we eat life, you know. That's what I got to really learn. And I was really fascinated by their culture and the way of life. But then I saw the effects of climate change. You know, the waves were coming literally into their houses. You know, every time the tide was high on full moon and new moon, this was actually the hut that I was living in. And, you know, the waves would come into my hut every 2 weeks. And you see the kids running away from the waves, but it's actually really dangerous. And, you know, in the beginning, the kids are like excited, you know, they think it's like a natural pool, then, you know, they swim in it and, you know, they're playing around with it. But then one thing led to another, you know, it just keeps rising and rising and rising. And, you know, they start to really concern, you know, about what's going to happen, because it's a really narrow peninsula. You know, you look right side, there's the ocean, left side, the ocean, you know, and you don't know how high it's going to come. And then I found out that next to the village where I was staying for months, there were 3 more villages that used to exist before, but they had relocated already because the sea had risen too much that it wasn't possible for them to live anymore. And so they had relocated like a decade ago, and it had become a ghost town like this. And then this was really shocking to me. You know, I felt like, is this our future? You know? And I feel really guilty about it. And I was the only Japanese in that village, in that region. And I feel like my people did this. You know, like we got to benefit from the economic development. And, you know, we live a pretty comfortable life now. But the side effects of it was showing here, not in Japan, not so much in Japan. Yeah, we were feeling it now, but back then it was so much more in Samoa than Japan. And you know, that was another injustice that I kind of wanted to address. And when I saw this village, I decided to address these. So there are there are a lot of ups and downs in my life. But basically, I wanted to pursue my passion in addressing climate change and environmental problems. You know, I wanted to understand how it happens. So I went into management consulting because I wanted to learn about capitalism. I wanted to learn the mindset and the world system that creates these problems to begin with. And if I don't understand it, I didn't think I would be able to solve it. So, I mean, this is not something one person can solve, but, you know, I wanted to understand it. That's why I went into business first. But after a few years, I wanted to follow my passion. So I went to Tuvalu, which is one of the first island countries that would go under because of sea level rise and climate change. And I was teaching, well, I was interviewing 700 Tuvaluans in this island, you know, kind of asking them about how they understood this climate change, you know, how they perceived it, you know, like what are their concerns, what are they doing to adapt to it, you know, what are they doing to mitigate it, you know, that kind of stuff. That was my job in the NGO based in Tuvalu at the time. We were planting mangroves to you know, keep the shore from getting eroded. I was teaching kids in kindergarten about climate change in a way that they can understand it. I was also teaching high school students about climate change. This is the only high school in Tuvalu. So, you know, there are 9 islands and they come from different islands to just this island for high school. So there was 800 of them. But surprisingly, not many people understood how climate change happened, the mechanism of it, you know, what could happen in their future. You know, so it was pretty important that yeah, they find out about it. Anyways, yeah, so this is me and Tomo getting awarded by the Dalai Lama. This was like a few years after the Tuvalu experience. But so we both worked in internet development, and there was this one incident that like they approached to us and they said they were gonna give us this award for the work that we do. And we actually said no to this because we didn't think we were deserving of this. But 2 things that they said. One was that it's not an award for, it's not just awarding the accomplishments that we've made in the past, but this is also awarding things that we will accomplish in the future through our life. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing was that we were able to take anyone from any country to this award ceremony. And there was actually one person that I really wanted to take, my dear friend Bella from Timor-Leste. She's a warrior. She's a change maker. You know, she's a fighter. You know, she was the one that I thought of first that was so deserving of this award, and I wanted to take her and introduce her to the Dalai Lama. And so for those 2 reasons we accepted, and so basically we're in this for life. We kind of have to do this for life. We're committed for life because we made a promise with the Dalai Lama. So this was all to 2014, and later that year we founded Earth Company, not because of the Dalai Lama. We had already planning on founding this organization, but basically we founded this organization for people like Bella, which Tomo is going to talk more about now. Okay.
All right. Cool. So that was probably a bit longer than we anticipated. But yeah, I guess that's what happens when you try to summarize about 80 years of combined life experiences into a few minutes. Okay, so Earth Company. Before we say anything, we would like you to watch a movie a short one, so you can get an idea of what we do. And I'll also share this link in the chat box, because oh, thank you for the comments. I hadn't actually seen the comments yet. Can you guys see in here all right? Oops.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
If there are people dedicating their lives to tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges, then we need to support them. That's why we started Earth Company. We select and support exceptional, one-of-a-kind change makers who can make much deeper and wider impact if they have access to resources. We call them impact heroes.
Before I was a midwife, I was very happy as a school teacher, but I had this calling to give babies a chance to arrive on the earth without trauma and to give mothers respectful care. Our first clinic was in Bali. It started not as a clinic, it started as just a door-to-door service. And all of our services were always free. And I found that the people here had many, many difficulties getting the care that they needed in their pregnancy and for birth and for postpartum care. I had a lot of heartbreak in my life. My sister died. She died from a complication of pregnancy. The doctor, all he had to do was give her medication. All he had to do was look at her chart and care for 1 minute. So I decided then, okay, being a school teacher is nice, but I want to be a midwife. Because I believe if my sister had a midwife, the midwife would hold her hand and make sure that the doctor listens to her. Earth Company was the one that raised the money for the medical wing with the acupuncture and the doctor and the lab and everything. Without Earth Company, the clinic is not finished yet. They really stayed involved with Bumi Sehat and with me. I believe on the level of our souls, something matching, something special. So they're very, very instrumental in making Bumi Sehat stronger. Also through Earth Company, we were able to have a clinic for childbirth in Sentani, Papua. We keep the baby with mother 100% of the time, skin to skin, 100% breastfeeding at Bumi Sehat. If you immediately clamp and cut the cord, they won't have their full blood supply. If you take them away from mother immediately, then they will suffer from trauma, from separation, from placenta, and from mother. And then with that trauma, it closes your heart. So your capacity to love and trust is deeply affected. And they will grow up very much depending on how they are born.
There's a Native American proverb that says, "We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." We believe there's so much truth in these words. The world is full of issues, and so many people are struggling just to survive. Some people can change that reality. There are people who can change that reality. Everyone should be able to write their own endings to their own stories. We need more people who can make that happen. Every Robin, she's not an ordinary midwife. She's not only catching babies, she's saving the world and building peace, one baby, one mother, one family at a time. She goes to some of the most marginalized communities in the world and most disaster-stricken zones to support those that most need it. The more I found out about her, I knew we had to support her.
How can I make the world a better place? Why was I born? All the humans in the world are born to love. I mean, how do you get to Earth? Two people have to make love. It's the planet of love. So that's why it's so important to love. We want every single citizen of Earth to have an intact capacity to love and trust. And I do everything I can every day toward that goal. And I believe that we can all do something. And if everybody does something, it's going to work. I have a lot of hope. Maybe I'm crazy. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm crazy, but that's okay. I hope everybody could be crazy for love, because I am crazy for love and I'm crazy for peace.
Okay. Hope you enjoyed that. We've watched that way too many times, probably hundreds of times, but I find it moving and inspiring every time I watch it. Yeah, Robin is quite a woman. Yeah, we've run a lot of educational programs here in Bali, and one of the most impactful, the deepest impression people have is when they hug Robin. It's not about visiting the green school. It's not about going to all these places. They hug Robin, and yeah, it really is a kind of eye-opening, life-changing kind of thing. And I hope you can visit one day. Okay, so as Aska mentioned, we both have had people in our lives that we really wanted to support. Aska wanted to support Bella, and I had this guy Perlo in Tibet, who I deeply admire and have supported in the past. And so we founded Earth Company to be able to support people like them, who we really believe are changing their communities. They are leading to a new paradigm. And so, yeah, so that's why we started Earth Company. It's a social enterprise that creates futures, specifically regenerative futures that can be passed on to next generations. And why do we exist, and why do we need this? I think you guys are aware that we are the last generation that can save our future. And the past few hundred years of our economic development as a species is pushing Earth to its limits, and we need to do something about this. Yeah, I think we all know the kind of the gloomy picture of our world in the future if we are to continue as business as usual. So we need to not only solve the existing problems, but we need to create a world that doesn't generate new problems. And the way we see this world or see this evolution is that we are making this transition from a conventional or degenerative Earth to something we call sustainable. But this world is where, maybe the effect is net zero, but it's a very energy consuming net zero, right? So we do a lot of bad things, but we need to spend a lot of energy trying to heal or trying to negate all the bad that we do. And I think beyond that, there is a circular Earth that will be much more energy efficient. So we're not doing that bad. We're not doing too much damage in the first place. And beyond that, even there is a regenerative Earth where each of us, humans, animals, plants, every single kind of being has a positive effect on each other, and that will be called a regenerative Earth. And in order to achieve that end goal and to push us along this evolution, we do three things. We have an Impact Heroes program, an Impact Academy, and Mana Earthy Paradise. This is just a timeline of what we've done in the last few years since we started Earth Company. So we support one changemaker per year, which Aska will tell us more about. And then we have had different kind of businesses launched at different time points. We used to be a 2-person show. And now we're about a team of 40 people. And so about 25 of us are on the hotel sides, hotel, restaurant, shop sides, and then about 15 on the non-hotel sides. They're scattered across Japan, Taiwan, and Indonesia. We've been fortunate to be covered by different media agencies and receiving different awards. And along the way, we built partnerships with a lot of different organizations, companies, educational institutes, different networks, as well as nonprofits and government agencies. Okay, so now I'll pass the screen to Aska to tell us more about the Impact Heroes program.
Okay, so as Tomo mentioned, we select one amazing, exceptional, one-of-a-kind change maker per year. And we pretty much do everything we can for that person for 3 years. Yeah. So we're like, I guess we can be considered accelerator, but not many accelerators commit to such a long time, like 3 years. And also they usually support, like, a batch of like 10 people, 30 people, 50 people, even sometimes 100 people, but we focus on just one person because, Tomo and I, we both worked in international development space, and the needs of change makers vary from one change maker to another. Like they come from different backgrounds, their issues are different, their, the level of maturity is different, it's just almost impossible to just cater to the needs of all change makers with one packaged support. So our support is all customized depending on what kind of needs each change maker has. And there are 7 criterias for our impact heroes. And they are authentic, passionate, grounded, inspirational. And then there's the leadership and irreplaceable and future-oriented. So this means that they have to have authentic motivation, and which usually means that they have been the victims of the issues that they're addressing. They want to serve the community. They want to help their own people from the same issues that sort of they struggled with. Yeah. So the motivation is authentic. And they're so passionate, they're in this for life, they're so committed, and they're also grounded. They're not just trying to do like high level stuff, but don't know much about what's going on the ground, with the grassroots level, but they're the kind of people who have the trust of the communities on the ground. And they're inspirational not only to the communities that they're serving, but also to the world as well, who are able to change the mindset of the very people who are creating these problems to begin with. And then there's the leadership. They often have this charismatic, very just amazing personalities, and just amazing ability to draw people into their work. They're also irreplaceable. They're one of a kind. Their work or they themselves cannot be replaced by anyone else. That's how important their work is. And lastly, future oriented. So by this we mean that they have to have long-term thinking. So there are a lot of problems right before us, but instead of just if there are poor people right in front of us, instead of just giving them food or monetary support, you have to give them way for them to be able to survive and to thrive, and to learn how they can get better, how they can improve their livelihood, and so our impact heroes are the ones that do that, and even more, we want to select impact heroes that has the potential to make a paradigm shift, because the way we live now, if we continue this, then basically there's no future. So there needs to be a lot of paradigm shifts happening in every sector, every region, and we select impact heroes that can do that. So there are 5 impact heroes. 3 of them have graduated from us already. As you can see, they come from different backgrounds. They're interested in different issues like education, LGBTI, health, climate change, peace, land degradation, you know, and in different regions as well, Timor-Leste, Indonesia, Philippines, Marshall Islands, Myanmar, Indonesia. There's really amazing people, and we do open calls. So every year, actually, the open call for Impact Hero 2022 is going to start in the coming month or so. But we actually have we do an open call, and we select. We get about like 70 to 80 applications from amazing change makers, and we have to narrow it down to like 10 finalists, and then select the final the one, right? Which is really kind of a heartbreaking process for us, because there's so many amazing change makers out there. And these are the finalists from last year, but they're just as amazing people. We're actually planning on bringing them to the Green School towards the end of the year. Right now, speaking of having this summit called the Regenerative Futures Summit, where they will talk about their view, their perspective of the regenerative future. Such a hard word to pronounce. And there are other finalists from other years. You know, it's really amazing people. And these are pretty much what we do for them. Fundraising is probably the biggest thing. So for each change maker, we raise about 100,000 US dollars to 300,000 US dollars, depending on the needs and, you know, yeah, of their support. We also do leadership coaching. Marketing support, because you know a lot of people are, you know, working on the ground, or they're just so busy, you know, they don't have the money or the time to put into marketing. But then without marketing, it's very difficult to do fundraising, you know. So marketing just as important as, you know, doing the work on the ground. But not many organizations can do that, so we help them develop marketing materials, you know, develop websites, you know, promotional videos and stuff like that. We help them with the business development. Their work needs to be sustainable. So, you know, either if they're a nonprofit organization, we try to set up a recurring donation platform. If they're a business, then we try to connect them to like the right investors, or, you know, who can potentially become business partners, you know, so that kind of stuff. We try to like make them as financially sustainable as possible before graduating from us. And then this management consultant, because they're so great at what they do, but then not so much on the management side or like admin side, you know, logistics and stuff like that. But you need that as well, you know, if you want to grow your organization and sustain your organization. So we help with that as well. So far in the past 6.5 years, we've raised about 1.7 million US dollars, donated, of 1.7 million, 900,000 US dollars went to the Impact Heroes directly. When people donate to the Impact Heroes through us, we don't take any margin. So 100% goes to the Impact Heroes. Other donations, you know, we use that to sustain our activities, to be able to support our Impact Heroes. And through the work of the Impact Heroes, we've reached about 800,000 people in Asia Pacific. If we want to do that, it would probably be impossible to do that. But because they have access to these people, they know their background, you know, they have their trust, you know, they know how to effect change in these regions. That's why we're able to reach out to this many people through just 5 change makers. So this is Bella. Maybe you guys can watch a little introduction video, and then I can explain about what we did for her.
Okay. Let me just. Oh, great. We have some questions, so we can answer those questions after. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna have some time for questions and answers in the end, and then I can read all those.
Yeah. There's sound coming from somewhere. Oh, here. Sorry. Also share the link with you so you have it.
Today, the situation in East Timor is about surviving. Families, friends, relatives, so many of them, more than 300,000 people died, disappeared.
Oops, sorry. Let me just put on the subtitles. Okay.
And then suddenly, here we are, the country is yours. Take care of it, you know, take a lead of it. It's not easy. People become more and more poor, like have nothing to eat. And then you see a lot of rural areas where hardly you find people actually, because people left all the resources, their land abandoned. So easy for people like Timor-Leste to get into it because you know what? We suffered too long. So we got used to the idea of like, yeah, somebody will take care of it because it's not my things anymore. I can't just say, go to the rural areas, go to your district. First, I myself have to go. A space where they can learn, they can play, they can be themselves. Giving the space for children, motivating them to be the protector, the savior of the environmental is so possible. The idea is to let them know that there are possibilities for us to be a star if we study hard, work hard, and have commitment and discipline to take on what we have in our mind to be what we want in the future. We can only live if our living, our surrounding is actually protected. I can't imagine a life without trees, without green, without land, without clean water, without clean air. You know, I just cannot imagine. The reason I haven't stopped because I don't see much of a changes yet. There's change, but the change that I want is still not there. We go slow, but we go steady. We don't stop, even though we know that there is no end to it. You know, violation, discrimination is not a one-night things that you overcome. But some people should start, some people continue, and some people may be completed. Someday, maybe not in our time, but maybe in our children's time or our grandchildren's time, the world will be such a beautiful place for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, so as you saw, she's a really inspiring woman. I met her back in 2007 in Hawaii when she was she was studying in college. She's 10 years older than me, but she was studying in undergrad, and I was in grad school at the time. But her life is just so, I don't even know how to describe it, but she comes from this little country called Timor-Leste, right? And they were under the colonial rule of the Portuguese for about 450 years. And then after that, Indonesia invaded, and for 24 years, they were having a civil war, and tens of thousands of people died in that war. So she grew up when she was 3. Her country was invaded, so she basically grew up during the civil war, and so she was working as a child soldier. Her grandpa was sort of a leader of the freedom movement. Most Timorese wanted to become independent. They didn't want to become part of Indonesia, but they were invaded, and there were a lot of violence. She grew up knowing and seeing so much violence. Her father, she actually has 43, she had 43 siblings at that time, still growing. One father, 18 mothers, you know, but they ended up getting a divorce. So she was raised by a single mother. And she's actually LGBTI. So she was, you know, she was a tomboy, you know, and her father thought it was weird, and he sold her to the Indonesian military for $5. But her mom risked her life to save her from the military, and she was actually saved. But she actually ended up joining the military later on, much later, when she was a teenager, because she witnessed this massacre where so many of her families and friends were killed right in front of her. And she thought that to be able to save this country, she had to get away. Otherwise, she would be killed as well. And the only way for her to escape this country was to join the Indonesian military. Otherwise, Timorese wouldn't be able to have a passport or whatsoever. And so she actually lied to the military, telling them that she wants to be part of them. And they didn't trust her in the beginning. So for 3 years, they abused her physically and sexually. And until, you know, they were convinced that she really wants to be part of Indonesia. And of course she didn't, but she endured that violence just to get one opportunity to get out of the country. And finally, they bought her story and they sent her to Canada, representing a young Timorese person who wants to be part of Indonesia. And when she arrived in Canada with this whole escape story that's like a movie, which I would love to tell the story, but it's going to take about 2 hours. I'm going to skip this part. But she arrived in Canada and basically she escaped and she exiled. So she was saved by the United Nations and she became a refugee. And after that, she was appointed by her own country to be the spokeswoman to really tell the truth about her country. For 6 years, she told the truth about her country in pretty much all over the world. And then the country got independent, and so she was finally able to go back to her country and reunite with her family. But what she saw was a country that had never been independent for 5 centuries. So for the first time in 500 years, this country was on its own. And all these older generations, they had no idea how to run a country. They hadn't even graduated from elementary school. They don't even know how to read, you know. And United Nations came in, and, you know, all these like consultants, World Bank consultants, ADB, all those people came in, but they're foreigners, you know, like, are we going to ask foreigners to build the countries, you know? And she felt like they needed to start from education. But what she saw was that the people were so hurt and scarred and you know, just too used to violence, and they had no motivation to improve anything. You know, they didn't know what they could dream of. They don't even know what a dream is, you know. And so she needed to heal people first, and for her too, she needed to heal. And the only way for her to heal was through nature. And so she wanted to provide that opportunity for the kids as well. And that's why she started this green school. And so this is a school where kids from some of the poorest areas of Timor-Leste can learn and be, you know, in touch with nature, and to start to heal, to learn what it feels like to nurture something. And then they can finally, you know, start to nurture themselves, right? They learn how to love, you know, how to care, you know. And that she thought that was really the foundation of, you know, what could build a country. So I'm not going to tell this much story for each impact hero, so don't worry about that. But each impact hero has amazing stories just like this, you know. And these people have amazing ability to change the future, you know. And people look up to them, and, you know, they have so much hopes for them, you know, and they count on them, you know. And with her, we built the green school. We provided 50,000, which is nothing, but, you know, she was able to start a little school, you know. So we gave 55,000 more because, you know, this school is for poor kids, right? And so they're not going to pay tuition to go to the school. And so it needed a for-profit program to be able to run this school. And that's why we funded this villas. And there are other impact heroes, you know, amazing midwife based in Bali. You know, she has another amazing story. She's helping like 80,000 people per year, you know, giving free medical care, childbirth care to those people who can't afford healthcare. Amazing. We've built clinics in Bali, Papua, some of the poorest parts of Indonesia and the Philippines. There's a climate change activist from the Marshall Islands, and it's one like Tuvalu, is one of the first countries to go under because the sea level rise. Her country looks like this, Her mother actually ended up being elected to be the president of the country, and she was the first female president in the entire Pacific, and we think that she will probably follow. She's amazing change maker. She's actually a poet. I would love for you guys to take a look at just look up her name online on YouTube. There'll be lots of poetry reading videos. They're all amazing, inspiring, and it makes a lot of people cry actually. She actually had this poetry reading in front of 190 heads of state at the UN Climate Summit in New York, and it was standing ovation. A lot of heads of states actually cried for her poetry. And then there's a Rohingya activist coming from Myanmar, really trying to build this inclusive futures for all ethnicities in Myanmar and beyond. So yeah, these are the people that we're helping. We provide quite a lot of funding for these people, building physical buildings like clinics and schools, but also support their operational funds as well. But I can hand over to Tomo now to talk about the Impact Academy, the academy side of our work.
I was actually just thinking maybe we can skip this because we are kind of running over time, and I would rather take questions before we take a break. So should we just take a few questions and then take a quick break? Does that sound good, Carol?
Yes, that sounds great. Do you want me to read some of the questions already coming here?
Yeah, or we can go through them quickly. Maybe we'll just go from the top. Yeah. Oh, Karen, it's happening. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your life stories. Tina, thank you. So touching. Love to you. Thanks for sharing. Thanks, Carol. What a beautiful story. Brought tears to my Desi. Thank you. So beautiful. Famida. Thank you. Ibrahim Robin will be with us next talk. Yeah. So I don't think Aska mentioned, but we have Bella and Robin coming to do exactly this in 2 weeks. So I really hope you guys can join that. Yeah. I was adopted. I understand that trauma. Thank you. Oh, Mark. Okay. Do they come to you or do you seek them out as an application process? Yeah, Karen, good question. So in the first few years, we started Earth Company to support Bella. So first year there was no one else could have competed with her. And then with Robin, we also wanted to support her. So that was there was no competition. And then from the fourth year onward, we actually opened for applications. And since then, we get anywhere around 60 to 80 applications per year. And so we go through the kind of written application, and then we have interviews and kind of a regular interview process. Yeah.
Yeah, so
that must be incredible.
Years,
That process itself is very energizing, and just to hear these people's stories. And we ended up selecting 10 finalists this year. In addition to the winner, we have 9 other finalists because we were really blown away by all their stories and their work. And so it's a pretty incredible process.
Yeah, we actually cry a lot in the interview process. We're so inspired and moved by the, applicants. So
yeah,
it's actually heartbreaking to select only just one.
Do you refer them on if you can't help them? Like, is there some kind of process or support plan for the ones who do have inspiring stories, but you can't help everybody, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so for the finalists, this is actually the first year we're extending our support to the finalists as well. So before that, we go all in for the impact heroes, right? And that's why we make deep impact. So, we can't be doing the same for all of our finalists. But starting this year, we're doing some kind of an empowering program, online program. And we actually, and so we're, we do like a knowledge sessions, and we talk about well-being, like long-term thinking, leadership, that kind of like we do online sessions. It's actually really amazing. They come from different backgrounds, but with their own expertise, and the discussion among them is just so eye-opening and inspiring. And we're actually trying to get them to come to Bali in October, November. And hopefully we can get them involved in this summit, and we can introduce them to potential donors and investors, like really promote their awareness on their work as well.
Next question by Paul. Looks like an interesting investment. Do you consider yourselves to be a training organization? Do you train or do you support? I guess both. With our impact heroes, we do a lot of support. And then with our work with schools and companies, we do a lot of training. So yeah, it's kind of both. So there's a question from Mark. I wanted to ask how COVID has impacted your organization. Do you believe it has helped change people's thinking towards climate change and its impacts? Good question. I mean, the immediate kind of effect of COVID was that it hit us really hard financially because for two reasons. One is people, their companies, our donor companies in Japan were hit hard. And so they actually couldn't donate. And so that was actually the biggest donor that pulled out last year, but they came back this year already, which is great. The second is because we run a lot of education programs here in Bali. And so as you can imagine, everything got canceled. And so that was, that was probably, I don't know, 100, 200K worth of business, just all canceled, right? Yeah.
But the question, do you think it's changed people's views? It's certainly for me personally, and I know people around me are much more aware of that, their impacts of what they do and how they, it's a positive impact in that way. But I say, obviously from a financial point of view, like you said, it's devastating,
Yeah, I think people are really starting to see the fundamental values, right? And so like what's really important in life, like the way we live our lives, the way we work, is it really important? We work so much, and we commute for such a long time, and we hardly see our families or your kids. Is that really the way we should be living our lives? Does that make us happy? And a lot of actually, like, I think it was 20% of people who were surveyed in Japan in their 20s, they said they wanted to move away from Tokyo, and it's still possible to work away from Tokyo. So this Zoom, like all these online tools made us, it made it possible for us to work from anywhere basically. And we have been working remotely for like this past 7 years, actually longer. For decades. But in Japan, it was pretty new. So a lot of companies had to go through, a lot of changes to be able to do that. But I think a lot of things are possible because of online tools. And also we've been getting a lot of requests for trainings on SDGs, and they want to learn more about sustainable development goals, and how they can shift their operations into more ecological and more socially minded, and so it's a great change for sure. We do see that.
I believe that these organizations are coming to you guys now for advice on these matters, because you are the subject matter experts. This is a fundamental different approach I've seen in many avenues, that you guys are now getting the media and the presence and what you need, which is great, I really
Hopefully,
do. Good on you. Fantastic. Absolutely inspiring. Yeah. Fantastic.
Thanks, Mark. Okay. And Paul, thanks for the comment. Fundamental questions of, are we happy working? Totally. Yeah. Cool. Should we take a 5-minute break and then come back to continue? Does that work for everyone?
Yeah, sure. I guess that we can all have a 5 minutes break, get a glass of water that is empty, toilet, and we come back in 5 minutes. So now it's here in Bali 11:19, so let's say 11:25, 5 minutes from here Bali time. Probably in Australia is already one already. Yes?
Yes, okay.
See you in a minute. And I'll still be here. And then
全部聞こえてるし。
No, I just turned it off.
I'm here. That was so inspiring. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing.
Thank you, Carol. Is this your like third or fourth time you're hearing this?
Yeah, no, but it was nice. It was actually the first time that you guys share your life stories with the.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't
Dormitory. It was
realize.
really, really nice.
Yeah, a lot of students actually, we get asked by schools to share about our life. And so we talk about our lives. Usually like it takes like 40-45 minutes to talk about our life. There's a lot that happened in our life. So yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's impressive that on the top of what you guys do, you have 4 kids.
I know,
So
it's
this
crazy. Is everyone back?
I think so. I mean, there's some people that still have their camera closed, but I think that, yeah, we have done the 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
I think we can
Okay.
start.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get back to the slides. So this is the last component of the presentation, actually. So this is where I talk about Mana Earthly Paradise, which is a eco-conscious hotel that we started back in 2019, just 6 months before COVID hit. So I'm going to talk about why we started this. Okay, so it looks like this. This is where we are right now. So why do we exist? So in Bali, tourists use 2,500 liters of water per day per person, while the locals use only 180 liters, right? And so this is compiling all that water that gets used in, not just for drinking water and for cooking, but for the pool that you might enjoy, or, for the flowers in your hotel, in the hotel where you're staying, that will, that you might enjoy seeing, like all those things needs water, toilet, shower, anything to do with, bathrooms, that requires water as well. So all of those included, tourists are using 2,500 liters. And if it's pretty high-end hotel, it's 4,000 liters. So that's a lot of water that's being used. And, Bali is constantly having shortage of water. And so in Bali, next to tourism is farming, right? That's what they do. The Balinese people, local Balinese farm, but now they're not having enough water to be able to farm as much as they used to. And so before they used to be able to grow rice 3 times a year, but now only once or twice, depending on how much water the region has. And in terms of waste, tourists are generating about 4 kilos of waste per day, while the locals generate only 0.7 kilos. And believe it or not, the 50% ends up in landfill. And so not many people actually know this, but in Bali, there's no waste processing plant. And so for the past 40, 50 years or so, all the waste that has been generated by tourists have been going to this one massive trash mountain. And it's like, if you go there, like, you won't believe what we've done for the past 40, 50 years. It's 32 hectares. It's massive. And, there are slums around it, and they don't come from Bali. They come from different islands around Bali looking for a job to, like, pick trash, just find anything that's recyclable, and they put it in a big bag, and they give it to the recycling companies, but they get like $2 a day, $3 a day, something like that. And the kids, of course, they can't go to school, they're running around barefooted, and if you go there, the smell is just so, like, it's like unbelievable. You can't even open your eyes because of the strong smell. And also, like, there's so many flies, right? Like, if you open your eyes, like, flies will be flying into your eyes, that's how bad it is, but people live in that condition, and of course they don't have work, they don't have, they can't go to school, they don't have a job, it's really horrible. And so, like, tourists don't realize, we're contributing to creating that kind of environment. when we throw our trash into a trash can, we don't think beyond that, you know, but then actually, well, half the time it ends up there, you know. And this is where Balinese locals, they used to grow cows, and the cows are still there, you know, they're still growing cows there, you know. It's not like the Balinese people are going to move because of the trash mountain. And so these cows are being, you know, grown here on this mountain, and they grew up eating trash, right? And they're sold to the market, you know. And so when you're eating cow meat, if you know, you don't know where it comes from, but you know, it could be these guys, you know. It's really, yeah, it's really unbelievable situation. And you know, we want to be part of the solution, not the problem, you know. We run an NGO, you know, we're here because, you know, we want to make the world a better place, but by living here you were contributing, you know, negatively to Bali, and we didn't want that, especially because we do study tours, right? Before COVID, we used to have like 15-20 study tours a year, and we've had about 700 something people from 23 different countries to learn about social innovation and sustainability and circular economy and stuff like that with us. And but at the end of the day, they go back to a hotel, a conventional hotel, where they're being part of the problem than the solution. And we didn't like that, you know. And so that's why we wanted to be consistent with our vision, and start a hotel that's truly sustainable. So we exist to make the world a better place. We wanted to exemplify a truly circular and regenerative economy where the more profits businesses make, the better the world will become. And that's really our aim. And we do three things. We have eco villas. It's called the Earthbag Villas. And then we have a restaurant we just renovated actually. And we also have a market. With the eco villas, so we're using this technique called the Earthbag Houses. It's basically, it's rolls of rice bags. And you fill that up with soil, mud, and you make a coil all the way around like a snake. And that's it, you know. And then we cover it with plaster, and we put a roof on top of it. And it's like the most simple, cheapest, fastest, and it's pretty durable, and also ecological way of building. It has very slow heat transfer because the basically it's a mud wall, so it's about 40 centi thick, right? And so it takes 12 hours for heat to move from one side to the other. And so when it's hot outside, it stays cool from the coldness from the night before. And then nighttime, it becomes warm because of the warmth that, you know, comes inside slowly, taking 12 hours from, you know, during the day. And so you don't need an aircon in that houses. So it's very ecological in that way as well. This is what our villas look like. We're using bamboo roof. Bamboo is a grass, so it's very fast growing. We're not cutting we didn't cut one single tree building this hotel. So all the wood that we use in this hotel are recycled, reclaimed wood. So they're amazing, like 100-year-old houses, 200-year-old houses, you know, that are no longer used in other parts of Indonesia. And we take wood from those houses and for us to use in construction. So there are a lot of reclaimed woods that you can use for construction. All the lights that we have here are 100% solar powered. We harvest water from the rain, and we filter it, we circulate it, we use it in the kitchen, in the bathroom. All the wastewater goes into wastewater garden, and it grows plants, and the plants are amazing ecosystem, right? Like they're filter on their own. And so after the plants filter the water, it actually comes out really clear. So when the water goes into the wastewater garden, it's like dark color, right? But then when it actually comes out, it's like clear. And if you don't treat it that way, and if you release that polluted water into the ground, then, you know, it aggravates the water quality, the soil quality, and it affects the well water where local Balinese are drinking from. So yeah, we're trying to be a truly circular environment. And we're going to give you a little tour of the facility, so I'll skip these. But we also have a farm-to-table concept restaurant. We don't use everything is organic. So no pesticide, no MSG, no GMO, no beef, because, you know, making cow meat is really unecological. We don't use microwave. We try to stay away from F1 seeds as much as possible. So we have a permaculture garden, and we only grow heirloom seedlings. So we try to be as indigenous as possible, you know, no modification of seeds, you know, that kind of stuff. So truly healthy, truly earthly. These are what our food look like. It's farm to table. We also compost the food waste. So everything goes back to nature. That grows our food again. We eat them. Whatever that's left over goes to compost, and it's a circular thing. We also use upcycle glasses. This used to be a water bottle. We cut it, we polish it, and we reuse them as cups again. So well, anything that we can upcycle, recycle, we do. In the market, we sell anything that's organic, ecological, ethically sourced, socially minded, and locally produced. So we don't sell anything imported. You know, we want to help the ecosystem of nurturing social entrepreneurs here. You know, because there are amazing products coming from like social entrepreneurs that are you know coming out locally, and we need to give them opportunities to explore. You know, so. Yeah, we sell anything that we can sell zero waste, we do. Yeah, we try to stay away from plastic as much as possible. Yeah, and these are the stickers, the impact stickers, we're calling them. We want to communicate with our customers, you know, what they're buying, right? And what kind of positive impacts that they're making through buying those products. So each brand has these stickers, so our customers know exactly what kind of impact they're making through buying these products. So with this, oh yeah, and we also have yoga shala, permaculture garden. We're going to build kids playground towards the end of the year, so that's still coming soon. But basically, that was the introduction of our eco hotel, and I'm gonna give you to Tomo. He must be somewhere already out there. He can give you a little tour of Mana.
Can you guys hear and see me all right?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can, Tomo.
Great. Okay. So I'll start from the corner of the backside of the property. So we're actually at the garden area. This is you see this little fence here. This is the end of our property. So it's, the area is 42 ara, so 4,200 square meters, which is about 1 acre land. And that we're leasing for 25 years. And this is the compost area. You'll see our gardeners were pretty creative. This is actually banana tree, banana trunk, and they cut out little pockets to grow leaves. So this is the garden and compost area. And so we're slowly making our way back to the villas and the restaurants area. So there's one villa here. So that's the Earthbag wall that Aska was describing earlier. This is single villa here. This is another single villa. We got some big banana trees here. This is the yoga shala in the front. It's where we have meetings. I'll show you later, but I want to give you a peek of our single villa. So it looks like this. So we got beds, and then our favorite is this little chill out space. You can fit a whole family here actually. And this turned out to be a little bit bigger than the plan. So the builders got the measurements slightly wrong, and they built it a little bit bigger, but it actually came out beautifully. So that was okay. So all the lights here are solar lights. So you see this is connected to these wires that go up to connect to the solar panels. And the solar panels are connected to these things. These are batteries that are charged by the sun. Yeah. And yeah, I'll even show you the bathroom. See, very kind of round, curvy place. Even the bathroom light is solar. Oh, even I'll show you even the shower head is actually a water conserving shower head. And the trick is actually this little hole. That's all it is. But basically, when water comes out, because of this hole, that creates a vortex and the air comes in here. And so with the water comes actually water. And so you don't need to use as much water as usual, and you can still feel the pressure. And so pressure is combined water and air. That's like a little water conserving shower heads that we have here. Yeah, so what we decided to do with this building is that you see the Earthbag buildings walls here, but then we have the bamboo roof up top. And you'll see, like, for example, at the Green School, there are Earthbag domes, and Earthbag buildings are usually made into domes. But then we thought for places to stay and as an accommodation facility, the domes are it feels really small on concave. And so we wanted to do the walls with Earthbags plus the bamboo roof, which makes it very spacious inside. So I think this, as far as we know, this is the only place that kind of combines Earthbag and bamboo roofs.
Yes, our Earthbag building in Green School is quite claustrophobic.
Claustrophobic, yeah.
It's nice, but we end up having to put a roof over it because also it's not really appropriate for the climate here to have like as a dome completed, because then it can leak a little bit. Like it's better for dry climate. So
yeah, right. So this is our yoga shala. So we have kind of presentations, discussions, and yeah, wanting to do more activities here. We used to have a kids capoeira here, so we're gonna restart that soon. We have our housekeeping staff cleaning our villas. So this is a family villa. This is Degus. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. This is Martika. So this is our family villa with 2 bedrooms, one on this side and then the other one on that side. It's a much bigger space. So yeah, as Aska mentioned earlier, one of the purposes of this space is to be able to host retreats and big groups. And so the maximum capacity is about 30 people if we book out the entire place. And the other thing that I wanted to show was the dormitory, because that's where we can actually fit quite a number of people. We have 2 dormitory buildings, one here and then another over here. Yeah. So we have 9 beds in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And one of the things that's happening in this whole sustainable tourism and ecotourism industry is that it's becoming quite high end. And so, a lot of luxury places are going sustainable and charging, $300, $500, upwards dollars per night. And we wanted the next generation to experience the future of tourism. And so we purposely made this kind of dormitory. So it's about, $15 US per night to be able to sleep here. And each person gets a little solar charger. So if you sleep here, you can charge your phone here through this USB outlet there. Yeah. So that's and then we have 2 bathrooms in each dormitory. Yeah. Am I missing anything, Aska, in terms of sustainability features?
No, I think you cover most of it.
Oh, the wastewater garden. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
talked about
this is
that.
Yeah, so this is the wastewater garden. And so from that, there's a little toilet there. And then outside, there's a septic tank underneath here. And then after the septic tank, it goes through this wastewater garden. It's basically this artificial wetlands that filter the wastewater. And so that by the time it reaches our kind of irrigation or circular water system, it's actually quite clean, and it has no smell. And so that's our way of trying to be responsible with our water consumption. And then before consumption, I think Aska was telling about the rainwater catchment. And so there's a reason why our office and restaurant have these panel roofs instead of the thatched roof, because it's much more efficient to catch rainwater from these panel roofs. And so you kind of see this big pipe thing that's connected to the gutter above. And so what happens is the rain comes, and then basically it goes through this gutter system into a rainwater tank that is underneath the parking lots. So here's the parking lot and the entrance. And here is our rainwater tank. It's full because it's been raining a lot the last couple of years here in Ubud. So this tank is 60 cubic meters. And if we go through a drought and we have no rain, we also have a backup well that can supply water into this rainwater tank. So the idea is to be able to rely completely on rainwater, but yeah, in case we also have a backup. So this is the entrance to the property, and the restaurant is here. This is Aska's favorite item in the whole property. This is 150-year-old wood that's been upcycled to become these tables. We have food photography happening right now by our amazing photographer here. His name is Dodi. He's taking photos of our desserts, our carrot cake, coconut cake, avocado ice cream, banana cake.
Kate, Tomo, this is unfair. This is like, this is just too much for me. I went to have lunch the other day with Tomo there, and I had the best lunch. I was so happy. This is.
Well, Carol, at least you are driving distance from us, and I guess.
Yes, but this is not fair with people around in Australia. This is just.
Right.
Yeah, but I felt it so interesting, yeah, guys, because I mean, you not only create so much impact in so many lives through the Impact Heroes, that you also decided to do this project here in Bali and to walk the talk and to really address these on the ground here for your life, you know. So it's pretty impressive to see, after so much you guys have already accomplished with Earth Company, and that you guys were, I mean, and still I can see from you that there is still going to be a lot of things coming from these two brilliant minds that you guys are. It's very impressive, Tomo.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just showing you the shop, and then I'll go up to the office. So yeah, all the products here have stories with environmental impact or social impact. Our most recent addition is this thing. These are bamboo toilet paper, bamboo tissue. They're called tree-free facial tissue, tree-free toilet paper, tree-free kitchen paper, water filters. And these are all local products, as Aska mentioned. And we have this zero waste concept. And so if you want to buy shampoo, or if you want to buy spices, sugar, lentils, you know, things like that, you can buy zero waste. You can bring your own containers, or you can buy containers here, and then you basically do package-free shopping here. Okay, and our office is back here. And there is Aska. So I'm gonna log out here.
Thank you, Tomo. Thank you for showing your home to us.
Thank you for virtually visiting. Yeah, but this is really our vision and dream come true, you know? Like, we've been talking about the regenerative future for a long time, but, you know, a lot of people are kind of skeptic about, you know, like, is it really going to happen? You know, how does that look like, you know, if it actually happens, you know? Like, are you sure, you know, it's going to work? Is it going to work? You know, is it going to be profitable? That kind of stuff. So, you know, we wanted to make one example come true. But maybe because we have like less than 10 minutes now, should we open up to questions?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea to have some questions to finalize. If anyone has questions, please just unmute yourself.
And also, we just wanted to share our contact information here, in case you want to send us an email or find us on Facebook or Instagram, or follow Earth Company's newsletters. Yes, please. Mana newsletter, whatever you want to do. You can find us at any of these links. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, so there is a first one that Paul put in the chat. Let me just open the chat here. It's okay. Is there any plans for further investment changes to your hotel?
Yeah.
Further investments. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we have been getting further investments in the past year, actually. And that's why we were able to renovate a little bit, even though we're only 2 years old, which was a good thing to do because, you know, we want, you know, we're environmental activists, you know, but not just like nonprofit leaders or, you know, environmental activists, but we wanted to open this space to everyone, you know, but then like the way we made it the first time was a little too rustic for some of the mainstream people. And so we renovated, and now like everyone wants to come here because of the ambience, because of the food, and not just because we're sustainable and socially minded and all those things, you know. And so we want people to come to us because they want to be here. And then, you know, this happens to be like the most sustainable place, you know, in Ubud. And, you know, if they like what they experience, then maybe, you know, they can become more ecologically and socially conscious next time, you know. And so that kind of that's the kind of a change that we're instigating here. So yeah, we will be making changes. There's no, you know, fixed goal, right? And I mean, there's no destination. It's a journey. Sustainability is a journey, so we keep evolving for sure. The hotel is social enterprise. Yeah, so the hotel is owned by me and Tomo personally. So it's a personal asset, but it's run by Earth Company, which is a social enterprise.
And then Karen, you also said there's no government funding for NGOs in Indonesia, correct? Is everything done via fundraising, or do you look for investment or other? Yeah, I think government funding for NGOs in Indonesia is very limited. We're actually not yet registered as a nonprofit here in Indonesia yet. So even if they were funding available, we wouldn't be eligible. Is everything done? Yeah, so we are raising our own funds for the construction of the hotel. We had a couple of impact investors who really were aligned in the vision and the mission of this place. And so one actually came from Australia. It's called the Pure Foundation. They run some amazing restaurants in Sydney, employing I think refugees or asylum seekers, and yeah, an amazing establishments. And yeah, the founder of that, Matthew, he was really in love with our concept, and so he came on board. We have another individual in Japan who also yeah, supported us. So yeah, we don't have any big companies or or big corporates backing us up. We really partner with people or small to medium companies that really believe in our vision and want to join our journey. So that's kind of our strategy so far.
That's great. And then I have a question. So what is coming next? What you guys are planning for the future? Are you planning like a kid number 5?
Yeah, right.
I knew you were gonna ask that, Karen. No, we're
no. The plan is to stop, stop developing things, stop birthing things and people. Like we've been very ADHD in our development. We keep developing things, but we kind of want to take a moment and sort of really nurture the things that we've already birthed. So that things are more sustainable and more we need to make mana profitable, which is a huge challenge right now given the situation. So we really need to take care of mana as well as impact heroes, which itself is a challenging thing to do. So
I mean, in terms of developing this place, I mean, one idea we've had for a while is to build like a bigger conference hall kind of building. So we would have to lease another plot of land next to us. But then we've been getting inquiries. Well, this is before COVID. We were getting requests to host bigger workshops or conferences, like 50 people, 100 people plus. And we don't have, the capacity to do that. But, if all these conferences that are held in these really boring big hotels in down south in Nusa Dua and Kuta and all these places can become more sustainable, that's huge. And so, if we can play a small part in changing that, then that would be amazing. But that's a medium-term project, not in the short term. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I attended a sustainable tourism conference, which was held at a very unsustainable hotel, which is very common, so
it's got AC blasting at 16 degrees, like it's really, we really need to change the MICE industry. The whole conference industry is so terrible.
Yes.
There's 3 questions here actually, like one from Paul, like how do you decide your sustainable practices?
I mean, sustainable practices were, we knew we wanted to do solar, we knew we wanted to catch rainwater, like we knew we wanted to do wastewater garden, that kind of stuff, but we didn't know what kind of technologies are out here and what is available here, what kind of companies are providing these solutions. And so we did work with an eco consultant here, a really amazing company called Alam Santi. They told us all about the technologies that we have here. And how many are employed here? We have about 20 ground staff, 20 local people, and about three managers aside from us. And they're 100% Indonesian. Everyone is either from Bali or from other islands of Indonesia.
And a lot of them are from this village, from the very local village here. And we have an agreement with the village actually to try to employ as much as 40% of our hotel staff. So we try to keep that agreement.
Tomo and Aska, thank you so much for your time today. Like really appreciate. You guys are still gonna be able to see a little bit of them next week. I mean, they're gonna be introducing Bella and Robbie, who are gonna be our presenters for not next week, the following week in 2 weeks. So I'm happy that we're still going to have a little bit of your energy in the course. Thank you so much for all the work that you guys do, for the mission that you guys have put into your life too. I'm very grateful for Dalai Lama to giving you that award. I mean, it's a blessing to the world. Thank you everybody for being here today. It was really nice to have you guys, and I'm really looking forward for 2 weeks to have you guys back with us. Yes, Ibu Karen, do you want to say something as well?
No, just a big, huge thank you, and to everyone, and to you, Carol, for putting these together as well. I really enjoyed hearing those, and really looking forward to seeing directly too next week and hearing about the impact that you've had with Bella and Ibu Robin. I think, you know, at the end of the day, we can put all this energy and effort into our projects, but what really tells the story is the people at the, you know, that you've, you know, had that direct impact on, and you must be incredibly proud. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
I just wanted to say kudos to you guys for living your dream. It's amazing, you know.
Thank you.
You know, it's just, it doesn't get any better than that, does it? You know.
Yeah.
And I remember that. Keep that in mind when you know, when I said you'll be overwhelmed, and I'm convinced you will.
Oh.
It's still your dream. You know, that's really important. You know, you control it. You have whatever you want. It's easy to forget that. But yeah, good on you. Fantastic.
Thank you so much. That's very encouraging.
Mark,
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
See you in 2 weeks. Yes.
Yes.
Have a beautiful day, beautiful weekend, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
All the best.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye. Bye, Tomo. Bye, Aska. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aska and Tomo. Bye-bye.
Bye.